The Porsche Taycan is obviously the Volkswagen Auto Group's flagship EV, but that's not the vehicle that will change Volkswagen's automotive landscape as they move forward and create more and more EVs. It's definitely not the vehicle that will increase Volkswagen's market share either. It is, and especially for North America, vehicles like this all-new 2021 ID.4 that will essentially make or break Volkswagen's position in the automotive landscape as more and more EVs are introduced. This vehicle in North America and in other global markets is so important that I can't even properly describe how badly it needs to do well. For all intents and purposes, so far, it is, well, a hit. And I have to admit that in my short time with the ID.4, I can see its appeal. I can definitely grasp why this vehicle will do extremely well for Volkswagen. I have to admit, however, that it is, well, so far hasn't been perfect. I won't say far from, but there are definite issues. But those issues are some that have to be expected when you buy a vehicle that has essentially been fast forwarded through research, development, and production. But even so, this thing is pretty damn amazing. Really, that's the bottom line. In the following video, as usual, we'll do the walk around and then we'll take it for a spin, and I will point out a few things that maybe aren't perfect, but all in all, Volkswagen is on the right track. All right, for some reason that I cannot explain, there are seagulls hovering overhead, but I have to do my job, so here goes. Base price in the US for a 21 Volkswagen ID.4 is $39,995. If you go to an all-wheel drive model, you add exactly $4,000 to that. In Canada, base price for a rear-wheel drive 21 ID.4 is $44,995, and when you do select your all-wheel drive model, which is what you need to do, you're looking at $49,995. Standard equipment includes a 10-inch display, heated windshield, steering wheel, front seats, preheating, as well as a heat pump. Now, the last two elements are very important for Canada, and they are standard. You also get 19-inch wheels and navigation, a wireless charger, and a lot more. So by today's standards, this thing is very well, in fact, equipped for the base price. There is also an optional statement package which you can add to both versions, rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. It's an $8,000 option. It includes leatherette with massaging seats, which is kind of nice, 20-inch wheels, a 12-inch touchscreen display, power tailgate, a glass roof, unfortunately, the silver blades that you see on this one, so that tells you which model this is, for a grand total of $52,995 if you go for the rear-wheel drive, or an extra $5,000 for the all-wheel drive. So your top trim ID.4 Pro S all-wheel drive is going to retail for just shy of $58,000. But you do get a lot for that. Now, if we just touch on styling right away, it's completely handsome. I love how Volkswagen has kind of swept back the styling of the vehicle. The roofline just dips nicely towards the rear. The front end looks just a little bit longer than it needs to be, but it works wonderfully well. These 20-inch wheels, which are actually staggered, 235 series in the front and 255 in the back, are fantastic. I mean, I think it's Mythos black. It's kind of a waste of a color on this thing because there's a nice blue and a nice red. Even the silver would look great on this. But look, there isn't a bad angle. Volkswagen has managed to create something that is instantly recognizable as a Volkswagen, even though it's completely all new design language, kind of. I don't know, it's just a familiar face in a very, very different, well, how can I put it? It's just a very different vehicle. And that's absolutely true when you get inside. I suppose we can do that now. So because this has the statement package, it has the power hatch, which opens up to reveal. Now, this is some of my mild deceptions with this vehicle. So just shy of 860 liters of trunk space, which is, if I'm not mistaken, identical to what I have in my own Golf Sport wagon. So there's no real gains there. There is some extra storage under there. And over here is where you'd hide the cable or other types of things. But look, it's fairly usable. The liftover isn't too crazy. Good depth, excellent width. It's nice. I'm gonna go on this side as opposed to my usual driver's side to show you the interior. So legroom, you can see here the seat is in a average regular position, if you will. There isn't that much room, but it's still very, very reasonable. Or I should have said it doesn't look like that much room, because legroom isn't that bad. But when you do have both seats side by side, and here the kid's seat, there is really no room for a person to squeeze between the two unless it's a small child. The glass roof, it does not open, but it does have a shade. This is a good shot of the dashboard here, which is extremely minimalistic, which is one of the issues. Maybe from here is the best, or we'll see. You can see that there are buttons down here, if you will. They're all haptic type buttons with sliders in some cases, but you can't really tell what they are. So the screen is really important, kind of unfortunately. I think that's about it for the front shot, so let's do a final walk around. I think from the rear is where the ID.4 looks best. It's a very wide squat, and narrow rear glass makes it really look really sporty. Okay, no actual door handles, by the way. It's just like a button under here. You kind of hear it working. So nothing pops out. So everything is completely flush, as you can see right there. Here are some of the issues that I have with this particular, well, with the ID.4. This is, in a word, completely, absolutely stupid. So you only have 2 window switches, and if you want to activate the rear ones, you got to press the button. If you want to go back to the front windows, you have to press the button again. That is, I mean, that's a lack of foresight, a lack of vision, just a complete mistake. If Volkswagen wanted to be cheap about that, they could have just done what they did in like my Mark II Jetta and put the switches here in the center console. There's plenty of room for like 4 switches. It would have been so much nicer. And then one of the biggest issues I'm having right now is this whole haptic pad is, I don't know, either high or drunk, because the mirrors don't actually, did you hear that? So when I press left for the mirror function, the power mirror, the door is locked. So this thing is a little bit confused here. I don't see the other ones seldomly work, although the vehicle is not on at the moment, but I'm pretty sure that's just a software update. Here are your headlight and lighting functions, which are simple and straightforward enough. So as you can see, the ID.4 has recognized me. Like a Tesla, there is no need to start it, although there is a start stop button there, start engine stop, but it's not necessary to use. This is a standard 5.3-inch display, which is very, very useful. You have your general driving information that shows up here, as well as obviously when you use the shifter. So it does remind everyone of the BMW i3. It's the same general function, but it works really well. At first I was a little annoyed with it, but it's fine. You can see right there I'm at like 99.9% state of charge, and I'm at 409 kilometers. Just so you know now, the most that I've seen in eco drive mode is 448 kilometers. Wow, this is going to be a long video. So here's a 12-inch display. This is one of the least user-friendly infotainment systems I've had the unfortunate opportunity to discover. Essentially, compared to my Golf, which is a 2018, okay, so there might be 2 or 3 generations between the two, maybe no more than 2, but this feels like Volkswagen is just trying way, way too hard to take it to the next level, because that's your home button, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So, I mean, some things are kind of smart, where you have like your climate shortcut here, but you also have other shortcut buttons here for your climate, your parking menus for, will it work? Didn't work, okay. This is for your drive modes. Kind of bouncing because this video is going to get really long, so it's not going to work. There we go, drive mode. So that's your very typical display screen. Like I said, in eco is where you get max range. Comfort is pretty typical. Sport is not so bad. I have configured my custom mode to have everything through the screen. Am I able to get it? Yeah, everything's in comfort except for the drivetrain. Just want a little bit more throttle response. Is that gonna work now? Yes, so there's your parking menu, that kind of works. But see, this is you can change climate settings and volumes, but I don't know, it's difficult to do it through the phone, apologies for that, but I'm not liking it. And the haptic itself through the controls and the steering wheel, I'm not crazy about it. It's overly heavy. But yeah, the learning curve for me was extremely steep at first because I only have this vehicle for about 3 days. But I suppose, if you do spend a couple hours driving it, things will work out. And this is how you change the interior. Lighting is kind of nice. You can't see it right now. Yeah, there you go. There's a line that kind of shows up when you do various things. I'll put it back into park. Okay, so lots of empty space, but I think that's just the Tesla influence, if you will, because they could have done something down here. Now there's your wireless chargers in there. The bin here is actually pretty good. I do really like the adjustable armrests, quite nice. Great storage up front. Visibility is actually pretty damn good, despite the fact that the base of the A-pillar is really wide. Once you come around to the side over here, you do have just enough right here to do that 45-degree turn or 90-degree turn, when you're going around a cement median. The steering wheel is lovely, very nice little flat bottom. Anyhow, I think I've said way too much so far. Now is the time to go for a drive. So something I forgot to mention about the ID.4 that is extremely annoying and, in my opinion, short-sighted on behalf of Volkswagen is, well, at the opposite of it greeting you when you get in, you don't have to press any buttons like a Tesla, you can go about your business. Well, as soon as your butt gets out of the seat and the ID.4 thinks there's nobody in the driver's seat, it shuts everything down. So for example, if you have a sleeping toddler in the back and it's 40 degrees Celsius outside and you want to leave the AC on or the ID.4 running for just 2 minutes while you go unlock the front door and unload the trunk, well, you can't. That just doesn't make sense. It's like the window buttons. Anyhow, but that's just a detail. Now, about the powertrain. This particular ID.4 is a rear-wheel drive American model. American doesn't matter because 99% of the specs are the same, which means that you have a single rear-mounted electric motor which produces 201 horsepower. Unlike most other EVs I've driven, including a rear-wheel drive Model Y, this thing does not have, it's got that initial kick, but it doesn't have a punch, if you will, that I've become accustomed to when I drive EVs. Still, it'll do 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 7.8 seconds, which is respectable, but you will buy an ID.4 dual motor setup with 300 horsepower. That will lower the 0 to 60 time, 0 to 96 kilometer an hour time from 7.8 to 5.8 seconds. Now we're in business. Both models all ID.4s are equipped now at the moment with an 82 kilowatt hour battery, 77 of it usable, which when fully charged, according to Volkswagen, will give you about 400 kilometers of range. Now, I think I mentioned it, but in eco mode, I've noticed 448 kilometers indicated. And right now I've been driving for 20 minutes and I went from 409 to 411. But one of the reasons for that is that I was just in some heavy traffic, and that I find that being in drive mode, if you will, not the customizable modes, but B being the most aggressive regen braking mode, is the best one for any type of short run, be it on the highway or in the city. If you go into D, everything is so decoupled that you can coast and coast. So that would be great for a long road trip. But in an urban setting, even on the highway, B is just perfect because you just back off the throttle and it slows down beautifully and it becomes so intuitive. You won't be able to do complete one-pedal driving in the city, but close. So that means you'll have to use the brake pedal itself, which there isn't much resistance to it, but it is something you will get used to very quickly. Now, I was talking about the battery and the range, so 400 kilometers. Unfortunately, my loan, again, this time is very, very short, And well, the week has a holiday smack right in the middle of it, so I won't be able to take this on an extended road trip as I would have liked to, but I have no reason to doubt that the ID.4 on a full charge will not travel at least 400 kilometers in mixed driving. Yeah, so recharging that battery, if you do it at home with the supplied cable, you're looking at like 3.5 days to charge the battery. So, you know, we'll talk about that. But if you do have level 2, well, you will get a level 2 charger installed at home. And that will bring your battery from about 5% to 100% charge in about 7.5 to 8 hours, which is perfectly acceptable. It's an overnight charge. It works beautifully. The ID.4 is capable of 125 kilowatt charging speeds. So on a DC fast charger, you'll go from 5 to 80% in about 38 minutes, which roughly works out to about 100 kilometers per 10-minute charge. Sorry, got distracted for a moment. So everything with the onboard, it's got an 11 kilowatt onboard charger, so everything works out wonderfully. Everything is smack in the average. It's just, I cannot complain about any of that as far as that's concerned. One surprise, I don't know if this is going to be the case with the all-wheel drive version, but the turning radius on this thing is unbelievable. The last time I drove something that could literally turn on a dime was a Smart 4.2. It's surprising that you just keep going. Anyhow, have I touched on everything? Oh, MEB platform, right, which underpins this with the chassis setup. I really can't complain. If I can compare it to the Model Y, which I found to be extremely harsh riding, even with the smaller 19-inch wheels. Now this has the 20s, and it's still reasonably comfortable, far more so than the Model Y, and no worse than the Mustang Mach-E. So this is the nice middle ground, if you will, as far as that's concerned. I think I've touched on everything. Yeah, I think I've touched on everything. Look, the bottom line is that right now, I prefer this aesthetically over the Mach-E, and I do prefer the driving experience of this over the Mach-E 2. This has a little bit more character. One of the issues with the Mach-E is the Mustang name brings with it expectations, which all versions below the GT, I can't, I'm driving it again soon, so hopefully my opinion will vary or change, but for the moment, the Mustang just doesn't deliver on the expectations. The Model Y obviously is faster, even in its rear-wheel drive form. It's got more range, but it's a heck of a lot more expensive than this, so there's value actually built into this. So the only one that kind of remains is the Nissan Ariya, which is coming eventually, and there will be many, many more in the near future. But as it sits right now, I think this is my favorite small, mid-size electric SUV. There will be issues. There will be bugs, right? The mirrors and other things, the error messages, and those are to be expected. And you'll get them with all of these super fast-forwarded new vehicles with new technologies and drivetrains and all of that. So if you're willing to accept that and deal with it, this really isn't bad. The infotainment system is, well, not good, but you know, once you get over that steep learning curve, you'll figure it out. I think I've said everything. Oh, size-wise, finally, it sits between the Taos and the Tiguan. That explains the trunk and the rear leg room and all of that. So it fits or closes the gap between the two. So Taos and Tiguan buyers might be interested in the ID.4. That's good thinking, good planning. And that's it.